Hello and happy today's to you folks. I hope you guys are having an absolutely amazing day today. One of the best you've ever had in your entire life, alright folks? Alright, so today we're taking a look at our short story. It's called The Second Wish. It's 34 pages long. It's in this Cthulhu Mythos collection by Brian Lumley of all this stuff too. It's called Haggopian and Other Stories. This is actually was printed a little bit later in his career in the 1980 Mythos collection called Tales of the Cthulhu. I'm sorry, New Tales of the Cthulhu Mythos from Arkham House called Second Wish for you folks. All right. I'll link you to this book and I'll call it Haggopian and Other Stories in the collection. In the comments, it's like $10. It's not even $10. It's like $8, so you can definitely pick it up. Brian Lumley was writing at the same time as Ramsey Campbell, who put together and edited that collection, and he had reached out to him too about this short story about the same time too, and they both sort of grew up as fans of the Cthulhu Mythos, and then they both wrote short stories in it. They submitted it to August Earleth, who was editing and running Arkham House at the time. And that sort of a thing too, and then would later both move into novelists, and both are very, very famous. Today, Brian Lumley has tons of fans from Necroscope series, and that sort of a thing. Ramsey Campbell, ton of fans too. All right, and both of them are very strong, beloved people. But basically, so yeah, it's great stuff. Now, both, like I mentioned before, both of them are Cthulhu Mythos fans. Actually, I encountered H.P. Lovecraft when I was in college, when I was 20. And just as a junior year, I started, and I had actually had my favorite authors at the time, and genres were all fantasy, and I read lots of fantasy novels, and that sort of a thing, like Michael Moorcock, Salvatore, that sort of a thing too. Then I read this 3-volume collection out there by Del Rey Publishing, a publishing company that regularly would publish the things that I cared about, and so I put it on and stuff. Let's check it out. And so I knocked out in the first one where his horror stuff, the second one where his Dreamlands fantasy stuff, and then his later one was his Cthulhu Mythos stuff. Loved it lots. He became my favorite author. Fantasy became my favorite author, and I really sort of embraced the Cthulhu Mythos right then in the mid-90s. I actually read a bunch of Cthulhu Mythos collections, right? Pick them up secondhand. All that good stuff for you folks, and read a few actually with Brian Lumley's short stories as well as Ramsey Campbell's too. Like the Church in High Street. So I'll pick them up too. And then I would go back and I've only read maybe 3 or 4 short stories by Brian Lumley. So I thought it would be fun for this collection for you folks. To knock down for you folks. Now, H.P. Lovecraft wrote in the pulp era. He created this Cthulhu Mythos as a shared universe, initially with his stuff, with things like the Cthulhu or the Necronomicon or places like Innsmouth, and then he encouraged other people to write in here too, and then he also brought in some things too, like other great authors in that era, like Christian Smith and Robert E. Howard. So it's a shared universe. It's definitely open up. And then when he died in 1937, the Arkham House Publishing was founded. So this is, again, not new tales of the Cthulhu Mythos. It sort of, in my opinion, kicks off the fourth and current generation of the Cthulhu Mythos. I love it lots. I think, and I've read it twice now. This short story too. Now, this short story, basically, what's happening in Second Wish for you folks? Our protagonist is somebody who is not the nicest guy in the world. He's probably in his 30s by now, and that sort of a thing too. So he actually inherits money from his dad, who was interested in the occult a little bit here and there, and from his dad when he was a kid, and then rather than later on in his life, and then he like a lot of people would have been back then. And then he just blows his inheritance very, very fast with high living. And then he doesn't want to give that up, even though he's blown through his inheritance, that high living life. So he starts trying to sleep around, to find a woman with money that he can sort of, use, right? And that sort of a thing, too, in order to get that money and marry her. But the problem is, there's like 10 years of that, trying to find a woman. And that sort of thing too. He has one left, and she's like in her 40s, and right, she's middle age, but she's a widow, and she's got a lot of money from the area, and that sort of a thing too. And so he is our primary protagonist, but she is also another secondary protagonist, if you will. And she is right, and she didn't love her husband, who died and left her that money from their divorce either, and she doesn't really love this guy either, but she does think that he genuinely cares for her. And that sort of a thing too. So she says yes, they'll get married. They just need to go back to London from where they're vacationing. Right? And so right now they're vacationing. They will find the Black Stone, which is from Robert E. Howard in the first part, and that sort of thing too. And she'll actually get headaches from looking at it, and that sort of thing too. And then check out some of these other things that are happening. Do some explorations in the area before they start to move home to London to celebrate the marriage. Now he says he wants to get married fast because her friends don't like him, because her friends think he's just about the money that she has, and he knows that he loves her, right? So he wants to get married as fast as possible. For you folks, now on the way here, they are going to encounter something, an old ruins of an old temple, and they actually. The proprietor of the inn that they're staying at, super nice and super welcoming to them, too, speaks great English too, even though it's over in East Europe. He's like, don't go to this ruins. It's dark. It's definitely that sort of a thing too. But they go anyway. And he's like, right there. There's a monk there who still keeps it in check, right? And that sort of a thing too. But even the owner of that inn, he's like, he doesn't think that person's actually like a genuine Christian. And that sort of a thing too. And then they decided to head out but then he's like, on the way out, just don't touch anything. You don't want to get anything in there, right? And then they'll head right on to that place, and then they'll start getting welcomed by the monk. It's a very, very dark and nasty place. They'll tour the temple and its ruins. The crypt, the library, and again, some study will touch things, and then the dark stuff happens. Now, there is a twist ending here, but you can definitely see it come from the title. Something happens about halfway through, so that leads to me just knowing what's going to be the twist ending, right? But I do, so just as a heads up, it's very, very seeable, right? That sort of a thing too. But basically it's fun. But I wouldn't say that it really sort of moved me as a reader of the Cthulhu Mythos, right? Or fan of Brian Lumley stuff, or just a reader of fantasy horror, right? And that sort of a thing. Or just a reader. I wouldn't say that the plot here, its concepts, its surprise ending, right, and that sort of thing too, sort of moved me as a reader, right? And so, but I think but the writing is certainly good. The descriptions, the atmosphere is definitely strong stuff, heavily creepy, right? And so if you want a creepy temple ruins, and that sort of thing too, set in the same area as the Black Stone, which is also from Robert E. Howard's Cthulhu Mythos short story in the first generation, I think you'll like this. Check it out, lots. That sort of a thing too. But if you just want to be pushed as a reader into another level, and that sort of a thing too, right? I just don't think that this works. So I'm giving this a 6 out of 10. I was thinking maybe a 7 or maybe a 5, so I figured we should average it to a 6. It's fine. I didn't mind it, but again, it was 34 pages long. I read last night. I'd set aside an hour. It took me and in the hour, normally an hour, and this would be about 30 pages, and I did exactly that, right, up and down the blocks, and so I just had to go back and read the last 4 pages. But it's fine. It's very it's medium size for a short story. There's some that are a lot longer, some a lot shorter too. But it's fine, right? I didn't mind that I read it, right? I'm not going, man, this short story sucked. But I just wouldn't go to the mattresses for it. So 6 out of 10 feels to me good, right? But you might totally disagree with me. So let me know what your thoughts are, spoiler free, in the comments below. Now, as a reminder, I'm not, a trained critic, right? I didn't study English in college, right? None of that stuff, too, right? Or literature. I took only the 2 required English courses as part of my arts and sciences degree, where you had to take 2, and then randomly creative writing too. And that was it. But that was it. Just to take a class. I don't practice it. Right, and so that means I'm just a fan, right? So your opinion really is as important as mine is, because I'm not coming to you from a place of expertise, right? So just check it out. And then also just let me know what your thoughts are. And if you agree or disagree with my 6, you think it'd be higher or lower or whatever, And then also, I also do some other of these reviews. I try to do these for the October that I dedicate to the Cthulhu Mythos and that sort of a thing. Just hopefully we'll get that published in. I also do 3 of these other reviews a week, so you can check them out too. If that's something that you're interested in these older genres like fantasy, science fiction, or horror too, right? All up and down the block for you folks. And then also, I do on Wednesday I do reviews of older RPGs. I'm sorry, older video games. On Monday I do reviews of older RPGs, tabletop war games there too. And then on Saturday I do something I call Serial Saturday, where I do reviews of older serials and such like in this era when Lovecraft was still alive, back in the Wolf era, right? So you can check those out too. And then hopefully some of those things, whether it's the Cthulhu Mythos, Brian Lumley, whatever, sounds like your cup of tea and it's something that you'll engage with. And if so, please do all the YouTube stuff. All right, and welcome to the channel. All right, as you can tell from those older things that I do reviews of each week, for you folks, you can definitely tell it's the passion of this channel for you folks to find anything for. It's even worse name even comes from the worst name about new books. As a quote by a French philosopher, Jacques Joubert, who says that the worst thing about them was that they kept us from reading the old stuff, right? Not that the new stuff's bad by default, but you get the idea. But in our passion for the new diversions, right, in books or in video games, movies too, right, we sometimes have forgotten that these things are standing on the shoulders of giants like like Brian Lumley, like Clark Ashton Smith, Robert E. Howard, Ramsey Campbell, H.P. Lovecraft, that sort of stuff too, right? So let's check out those giants. All right. And then I want to thank you so very, very much for just taking some time out of your day and investing, right? And even watching my videos, because we all have so many things that are happening in all of our lives these days, and pulled in so many different directions too, right? So if you spent this time with me, that's incredibly humbling, and I appreciate that so very, very much. So thanks again, and have an amazing day.